Stress doesn't break people. People break themselves by not knowing how to handle stress. There's a difference between someone who crumbles the moment pressure hits and someone who gets stronger when life gets harder. You see it everywhere. Some people fall apart when deadlines approach. Others thrive. Some people panic when problems pile up. Others stay calm and solve them one by one. The difference isn't luck. It isn't genetics. It's training. It's mindset. It's a decision to become unbreakable instead of staying fragile. Most people think stress is the enemy. They try to avoid it, eliminate it, run from it. But that's exactly why they break when it shows up. You can't avoid stress. It's part of life. It's part of growth. It's part of becoming stronger. The goal isn't to live stress-free. The goal is to become stress-proof, to build yourself so solid that pressure can't crack you, so focused that chaos can't distract you, so strong that when everyone else is falling apart, you're the one people look to for answers. This isn't about pretending stress doesn't affect you. This is about training yourself to use stress as fuel instead of letting it burn you down. It's about becoming the person who stays calm in the storm, who thinks clearly when others panic, who performs better under pressure, not worse. That kind of strength isn't born. It's built. And if you're ready to stop breaking and start rising, then you're ready to learn how to never break under stress. Chapter 1. Understand that most people break because they never trained for pressure. Most people break under stress because they've never prepared for it. They go through life expecting things to stay easy. And when pressure hits, they don't know how to respond. They panic. They freeze. They make terrible decisions. They fall apart. And then they wonder why they can't handle what life throws at them. The answer is simple. They never trained for it. They treated stress like an unexpected enemy instead of an inevitable reality that they needed to prepare for. Think about it this way. You wouldn't expect to run a marathon without training. You wouldn't expect to lift heavy weights without building up to it. You wouldn't expect to perform surgery without years of practice. But somehow, people expect to handle major stress without any preparation. They think they'll just figure it out when it happens. But stress doesn't work that way. When you're in the middle of a crisis, when the pressure is on, when everything feels like it's falling apart, that's not the time to learn how to cope. That's the time to use what you've already built. The people who stay strong under pressure aren't naturally gifted. They're prepared. They've spent time in advance building their mental toughness. They've practiced staying calm when things get chaotic. They've trained their minds to think clearly when emotions want to take over. They've developed systems and responses that work even when they're stressed. That's why they don't break. Not because they're special, but because they've done the work ahead of time. Stress reveals who you really are. It strips away all the pretense and shows your true character. If you've built yourself strong, stress will show your strength. If you've stayed weak, stress will expose that weakness. There's no hiding from it. There's no faking it. Stress is honest. It tells the truth about your preparation, your mindset, your habits, your discipline. And if you don't like what it reveals, then you know what needs to change. The biggest mistake people make is waiting until they're already stressed to start building stress tolerance. That's like waiting until you're drowning to learn how to swim. It's too late. The time to build your stress resistance is now. while things are calm. The time to develop your coping strategies is before you need them. The time to strengthen your mind is while you have the mental space to do it properly. Every day you're not preparing is a day you're choosing to stay vulnerable. Every day you're not building mental toughness is a day you're setting yourself up to break when pressure comes. And pressure will come. It always does. Life doesn't ask if you're ready. It doesn't wait for convenient timing. It hits when it hits. And when it does, you'll either be prepared or you won't. You'll either stand strong or you'll crumble. The choice is yours, but you have to make it before the stress arrives. Training for stress doesn't mean creating unnecessary drama in your life. It means building habits that make you stronger. It means practicing discipline when it's hard. It means staying calm in small, stressful situations so you can stay calm in big ones. It means developing the mental muscles you'll need when the real tests come, because they will come. And when they do, you want to be ready. The people who never break under stress have one thing in common. They've made stress preparation a priority. They don't wait for life to force them to get stronger. They choose to get stronger while they have the chance. They practice mental toughness daily. They build resilience through small challenges. They develop confidence by proving to themselves that they can handle difficulty. And when the big storms hit, they're not surprised. They're not panicked. They're prepared. That's the difference between those who break and those who break through. Chapter 2. Build your stress foundation when life is calm. You build your stress foundation when life is calm, not when it's chaotic. This is the principle most people ignore, and it's exactly why they crumble when pressure hits. They think they can figure it out in the moment, but the moment of crisis is not the time to start building strength. It's the time to use the strength you've already built. If you haven't built it, you don't have it. And if you don't have it, you'll break. Building your stress foundation means creating habits, mindsets, and systems that serve you when everything feels like it's falling apart. It means developing routines that keep you grounded. It means practicing responses that become automatic. It means strengthening your mental and physical capacity to handle pressure before the pressure arrives. Because when you're in the middle of a stressful situation, you don't rise to the occasion. You fall to your level of preparation. Your stress foundation starts with your daily habits. How you start your morning sets the tone for how you'll handle challenges. If you start chaotic, rushed, and scattered, that's how you'll respond to stress. But if you start controlled, focused, and intentional, that's the energy you'll carry into difficult situations. Your morning routine isn't just about productivity. It's about building the mental discipline that will serve you when life gets hard. Physical fitness is a massive part of your stress foundation. When your body is strong, your mind is strong. When your body is weak, everything feels harder. Stress hits different when you're out of shape. Your energy crashes faster. Your mood drops quicker. Your thinking gets cloudy sooner. But when you're physically strong, you have reserves. You have endurance. You can think clearly, even when your body is under strain. Physical fitness isn't vanity. It's preparation for the battles you can't see coming. Mental discipline is just as important as physical strength. And you build mental discipline through small daily challenges. You build it by doing things you don't feel like doing. You build it by keeping your word to yourself, even when it's inconvenient. You build it by staying calm in minor stressful situations. You build it by practicing focus when there are distractions. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you're adding to your stress foundation. Your environment is part of your foundation too. If your space is chaotic, your mind will be chaotic. If your life is disorganized, your thinking will be disorganized. And when stress hits disorganized thinking, the result is panic. Clean your space. Organize your life. Create systems that work. Build routines that support you. Because when pressure comes, you want everything else in your life to be solid, so you can focus all your energy on handling the challenge. Your relationships are either adding to your stress foundation or weakening it. Surround yourself with people who stay calm under pressure. Distance yourself from people who panic at every minor problem. The energy around you affects your energy. If you're constantly around stressed, dramatic, chaotic people, that becomes your normal. But if you're around calm, focused, solution-oriented people, that becomes your standard. Choose your circle based on who you want to become, not who you've always been. Your mindset is the most important part of your foundation. And you build the right mindset by feeding your mind the right information. Stop consuming content that makes you anxious. Stop following news that keeps you in a state of worry. Stop engaging with people who drain your mental energy. Instead, feed your mind content that makes you stronger. Read books that build resilience. Listen to voices that inspire discipline. Consume information that helps you grow, not information that keeps you stressed. Sleep is non-negotiable for your stress foundation. When you're sleep-deprived, everything feels harder than it island. Your emotional regulation suffers. Your decision-making gets worse. Your patience runs thin. But when you're well rested, you can handle more. You think clearer. You respond better. You have the mental and physical energy to deal with challenges without falling apart. Protect your sleep like it's part of your success strategy, because island, financial stability, is part of your stress foundation too. Money problems create stress that bleeds into every other area of life. When you're worried about bills, it's harder to focus on anything else. When you're living paycheck to paycheck, every unexpected expense becomes a crisis. Build an emergency fund. Live below your means. Create multiple income streams. Financial stress is one of the biggest sources of breaking points, and it's also one of the most controllable. The key to building your stress foundation is consistency. You don't build it once and then forget about it. You build it daily through choices that strengthen you instead of weaken you. Every day you have the opportunity to add to your foundation or chip away at it. Every habit either makes you more resilient or more fragile. Every choice either prepares you for pressure or sets you up to break. Building your stress foundation isn't a project. It's a lifestyle. It's a commitment to becoming stronger every day, so that when life tests you, you're ready. Chapter 3. Control your body first. Then, your mind will follow. When stress hits, your body reacts first. Your heart rate spikes. Your breathing gets shallow. Your muscles tense up. Your hands might shake. You start sweating. These aren't signs of weakness. They're normal physiological responses to perceived threat. But here's what most people don't understand. If you can control your body's response to stress, You can control your mind's response too. Your mind follows your body. If your body is calm, your mind can think clearly. If your body is chaotic, your mind will be chaotic too. The first thing stress attacks is your breathing. When people get stressed, they either hold their breath or start breathing fast and shallow. Both responses send signals to your brain that you're in danger, which makes the stress response even stronger. It becomes a cycle that feeds on itself. But you can break that cycle by taking control of your breathing. Deep, slow, controlled breathing sends a signal to your nervous system that you're safe. It activates your parasympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for calm, clear thinking. Learn to breathe properly before you need to. Practice breathing exercises when you're calm, so they become automatic when you're stressed. 4 counts in, hold for 4 counts, 6 counts out. Do this pattern whenever you feel stress building. Do it when you're stuck in traffic. Do it before difficult conversations. Do it when you're facing deadlines. Your breath is the fastest way to hack your stress response, but only if you've practiced it enough that it becomes natural. Your posture affects your mental state more than you realize. When people get stressed, they hunch their shoulders, they lean forward, they make themselves smaller. This posture sends signals to your brain that you're under threat, which increases anxiety and makes clear thinking harder. But when you stand tall, pull your shoulders back, and take up space, you send signals to your brain that you're in control. Your physiology affects your psychology. Change your posture. Change your mental state. Movement is one of the fastest ways to reset your stress response. When you're feeling overwhelmed, your body is flooded with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. These hormones are designed to prepare your body for physical action. But in modern stress situations, we rarely get to use that physical energy. It just builds up and makes us feel worse. Exercise burns off those stress hormones and releases endorphins that make you feel better. Even a 5-minute walk can reset your mental state. Your facial expression affects how you feel more than you think. When you're stressed, you frown. You clench your jaw. You furrow your brow. These expressions actually increase feelings of stress and anxiety. But when you consciously relax your face, when you soften your jaw and smooth your forehead, you send signals to your brain that everything is okay. It sounds simple, but it works. Your face is connected to your nervous system. Change your expression. Change your internal state. Temperature can be used to control stress response. Cold exposure, like taking a cold shower or splashing cold water on your face, activates your sympathetic nervous system in a controlled way. It teaches your body to stay calm under stress. It builds tolerance for discomfort. It trains your nervous system to handle shock without panicking. Heat, like a warm bath or sauna, activates your parasympathetic nervous system and promotes relaxation. Use temperature as a tool to train your stress response. Your hands tell the story of your stress level. When people are calm, their hands are relaxed. When they're stressed, they clench their fists, fidget, or shake. But you can use your hands to communicate calm to your nervous system. Keep your hands open and relaxed. Let your arms hang naturally at your sides. Avoid crossing your arms or clenching your fists. These small changes in hand position can have a big impact on your overall stress level. Sleep affects your body's ability to handle stress more than almost anything else. When you're sleep-deprived, your stress response is hypersensitive. Everything feels bigger and harder than it actually island. Your emotional regulation is compromised. Your physical resilience is reduced. But when you're well rested, your body can handle more stress without breaking down. Your recovery time is faster. Your thinking stays clear, even under pressure. Prioritize sleep not just for rest, but for stress resilience. Nutrition plays a huge role in how your body responds to stress. When you eat junk food, your blood sugar spikes and crashes, which creates internal stress that makes external stress feel worse. But when you eat clean, whole foods, your blood sugar stays stable, which keeps your stress response more manageable. Caffeine can increase anxiety if you're already stressed. Alcohol might seem relaxing, but it actually disrupts your sleep and makes stress recovery harder. What you put in your body affects how well it handles pressure. The key to controlling your body under stress is preparation. You can't learn these techniques in the moment when you're already overwhelmed. You have to practice them when you're calm, so they become automatic when you're not. Your body is your first line of defense against stress. If you can keep your body calm, your mind has a much better chance of staying clear. But if your body is out of control, your mind will follow. Train your body to handle stress, and your mind will be much stronger too. Chapter 4. Master the pause between trigger and response. Between every trigger and every response, there's a space, a pause, a moment where you get to choose how you'll react. Most people don't even know this space exists because they react so fast. Something stressful happens, and they immediately respond with emotion. They panic, they get angry, they shut down, they lash out. But in that split second between what happens to you and how you respond, that's where your power lives. That's where you can choose strength over weakness, calm over chaos, solutions over problems. The pause is where self-control lives. It's the difference between reacting and responding. Reacting is automatic, emotional, often destructive. Responding is intentional, thoughtful, usually constructive. When you master the pause, you stop being a victim of your circumstances and start being the author of your responses. You stop letting stress control you and start controlling your relationship with stress. But mastering the pause takes practice. It takes awareness. It takes a commitment to slowing down when everything in you wants to speed up. Most people's stress responses are completely automatic. They've been conditioned by years of reacting the same way to pressure. When deadlines approach, they panic. When problems arise, they get overwhelmed. When people criticize them, they get defensive. These responses feel natural because they've been repeated so many times. But just because something feels natural doesn't mean it's helpful. These automatic responses usually make stress worse, not better. They create more problems instead of solving them. The first step to mastering the pause is becoming aware that you have a choice. Most people don't realize they're choosing their stress response. They think stress just happens to them. They think their emotions are automatic and uncontrollable. But the truth is, you're always choosing your response, even when you're not conscious of it. The goal is to make those choices conscious and intentional, instead of unconscious and automatic. Awareness comes from paying attention to your internal signals. When stress starts to build, your body gives you signals before your emotions take over. Your breathing changes. Your heart rate increases. Your muscles tense. Your thoughts start racing. These are early warning signs that stress is building. If you can catch these signals early, you can intervene before your automatic stress response takes over. But if you ignore these signals, the stress response will hijack your thinking and decision-making. The pause doesn't have to be long. Even a few seconds can make a huge difference. Long enough to take a deep breath. Long enough to remind yourself that you have a choice. Long enough to ask yourself what response would serve you best in this situation. The goal isn't to eliminate stress. The goal is to choose your response to stress, instead of letting stress choose your response for you. Different situations require different types of pauses. In some situations, you might need a physical pause. Step away from the situation for a moment. Go for a walk. Go to the bathroom. Give yourself physical space to think. In other situations, you might need a mental pause. Count to 10. Take 3 deep breaths. Remind yourself of your values and priorities. The type of pause doesn't matter as much as creating the space to choose your response. The pause is especially important in conversations. When someone says something that triggers you, that's when most people respond immediately with emotion. They get defensive, they attack back, they shut down. But if you can pause before responding, you can choose words that solve problems instead of creating them. You can respond from wisdom instead of emotion. You can de-escalate instead of escalate. The pause in conversation is often the difference between connection and conflict. Questions are powerful tools for extending the pause. When stress hits, instead of immediately reacting, ask yourself questions. What's really happening here? What can I control? What response would serve me best? What would the best version of myself do in this situation? Questions force your brain to think instead of just react. They activate the logical part of your brain instead of just the emotional part. The pause gets easier with practice. Start with small stresses. When you're stuck in traffic, instead of immediately getting frustrated, pause and choose your response. When someone cuts in front of you in line, instead of immediately getting annoyed, pause and decide how you want to handle it. When you get criticism, instead of immediately getting defensive, pause and consider if there's truth in it that could help you grow. Practice the pause in low-stakes situations so it becomes automatic in high-stakes situations. The pause is not about suppressing emotions. It's about choosing which emotions serve you and which ones don't. It's about responding from your values instead of your impulses. It's about acting from your goals instead of your fears. When you master the pause, you stop being reactive and start being responsive. You stop being controlled by stress and start controlling your relationship with stress. That's when you become truly unbreakable. Chapter 5. Reframe stress as fuel instead of poison. Stress isn't your enemy. Your relationship with stress is the problem. Most people see stress as something bad, something to avoid, something that weakens them. But that mindset makes stress worse. When you see stress as poison, your body responds accordingly. Your performance drops, your thinking gets cloudy, your energy gets drained. But when you see stress as fuel, everything changes. Your body responds differently. Your performance can actually improve. Your thinking can get sharper. Your energy can increase. The difference between stress that destroys you and stress that strengthens you isn't the amount of stress. It's how you interpret that stress. Two people can face the exact same stressful situation and have completely different outcomes based solely on how they frame it in their minds. One person sees the stress as a threat and gets weaker. The other person sees the stress as a challenge and gets stronger. Same stress, different frame, different result. Your body doesn't know the difference between good stress and bad stress. It only knows how you interpret the stress. If you interpret stress as danger, your body prepares for danger. Your muscles tense. Your thinking narrows. Your energy gets depleted quickly. But if you interpret stress as excitement, your body prepares for performance. Your muscles stay relaxed but ready. Your thinking stays sharp. Your energy gets mobilized for action. The stress response is the same, but the outcome is completely different. Think about athletes. They face enormous stress during competition, but they've trained their minds to see that stress as fuel for peak performance. They use the adrenaline to focus better. They use the pressure to push harder. They use the challenge to bring out their best. The stress doesn't go away, but they've reframed it as something that helps them instead of something that hurts them. You can do the same thing with any stress in your life. The word stress itself is part of the problem. When you call something stressful, you're already framing it negatively. But what if you used different words? What if instead of calling it stress, you called it activation? What if instead of calling it pressure, you called it intensity? What if instead of calling it overwhelming, you called it challenging? The situation doesn't change, but your relationship with it does. And your relationship with stress determines your performance under stress. Stress often means you're doing something that matters. If you never felt stress, it would probably mean you never challenged yourself, never took risks, never pushed beyond your comfort zone. Stress is often a sign that you're growing, that you're taking on meaningful challenges, that you're pushing towards something important. When you reframe stress this way, it stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like progress. Your stress response was designed to help you, not hurt you. The increased heart rate gives you more energy. The heightened alertness helps you focus. The muscle tension prepares you for action. The problem isn't the stress response itself. The problem is when the stress response gets triggered by situations that don't actually require physical action, or when it stays activated for too long. But when you understand what your stress response is trying to do for you, you can work with it instead of against it. Excitement and stress create almost identical physical responses in your body. Increased heart rate, faster breathing, heightened alertness, muscle activation. The main difference is how you interpret these sensations. When you're excited, you interpret these sensations as positive energy. When you're stressed, you interpret the same sensations as negative anxiety. But the sensations themselves are neutral. You get to choose what they mean. Difficult situations often reveal strengths you didn't know you had. When everything is easy, you never discover your capacity for resilience, creativity, problem-solving, or leadership. Stress forces you to dig deeper, to find resources you didn't know existed, to develop capabilities you never would have developed in comfort. Some of your greatest growth will come from your most stressful periods, but only if you frame them as opportunities instead of obstacles. The goal isn't to eliminate stress from your life. The goal is to build a better relationship with stress, to see it as information instead of intimidation, to use it as energy instead of letting it drain your energy, to view it as a signal that something important is happening, instead of a sign that something is wrong. When you change your relationship with stress, stress stops controlling you and starts serving you. Reframing stress takes practice. Your brain has been trained to see stress as negative, probably for years or decades. You can't just decide to see it differently once and expect the change to stick. You have to consciously practice the new frame every time stress shows up. You have to catch yourself when you're using the old frame and deliberately shift to the new one. Over time, seeing stress as fuel instead of poison will become your default response. Chapter 6. Build stress tolerance through controlled exposure. You don't build stress tolerance by avoiding stress. You build it by exposing yourself to stress in controlled ways. Just like you build physical strength by lifting progressively heavier weights, you build mental strength by handling progressively more challenging situations. But most people do the opposite. They avoid anything that makes them uncomfortable and then wonder why they fall apart when real pressure hits. You can't build tolerance for something you never experience. Controlled stress exposure means putting yourself in situations that challenge you but don't overwhelm you. It means gradually increasing the difficulty so your stress tolerance grows stronger over time. It means practicing being uncomfortable so that when life forces discomfort on you, you're ready for it. This isn't about seeking out unnecessary drama or creating problems where none exist. This is about systematically building your capacity to handle pressure. Start with small stresses that you can control. Take cold showers. The initial shock of cold water triggers your stress response, but you're in complete control. You can get out anytime you want. This teaches your nervous system that it can handle discomfort without panicking. It builds tolerance for physical stress while also building mental resilience. Every time you stay in that cold water when your body wants to escape, you're training your mind to push through discomfort. Public speaking is one of the best ways to build stress tolerance because it triggers multiple stress responses at once. Fear of judgment, performance anxiety, being the center of attention, but it's also completely safe. Nothing terrible will actually happen if you stumble over words or forget what you wanted to say. Start small. Speak up in meetings. Ask questions in group settings. Join a public speaking group. Gradually work up to bigger audiences and more important presentations. Each time you do it, your stress tolerance grows. Physical challenges build mental resilience. When you push your body beyond what feels comfortable, you're also training your mind to push beyond what feels comfortable. Run a little further than you want to. Lift a little more than feels easy. Hold a plank a little longer than your muscles want to. These physical challenges teach you that discomfort doesn't mean danger. They teach you that you can keep going even when it feels hard. That lesson transfers to every other area of life. Put yourself in situations where you might fail. Apply for jobs you're not sure you're qualified for. Start projects you're not sure you can finish. Have conversations you're not sure how to navigate. The goal isn't to fail. The goal is to practice handling the stress of uncertainty, to build tolerance for the anxiety that comes with putting yourself out there. Most people avoid these situations because they're afraid of failure. But avoiding failure also means avoiding growth. Time pressure is excellent stress training. Set tight deadlines for yourself. Give yourself less time than you think you need to complete tasks. Work with a timer running. Create situations where you have to perform under time constraints. This builds your ability to think clearly when you're rushed. It teaches you to prioritize quickly and act decisively. It trains you to maintain quality even when you're pressed for time. These are skills that serve you in every high-pressure situation. Social stress is just as important to train as individual stress. Put yourself in social situations that challenge you. Network with people you don't know. Attend events where you'll be outside your comfort zone. Have difficult conversations with people you care about. Practice staying calm when others are emotional. Learn to hold your ground when people disagree with you. Social stress training builds confidence in your ability to handle interpersonal pressure. Financial stress can be trained too, but carefully. This doesn't mean being reckless with money. It means gradually taking calculated risks that stretch your comfort zone. Invest small amounts in things you believe in. Start a side business. Negotiate for better terms on contracts. Learn to be comfortable with some level of financial uncertainty. People who are terrified of any financial risk often stay stuck in situations that don't serve them because they can't handle the stress of change. The key to stress exposure training is progressive overload, just like physical training. You start with weights you can handle and gradually increase the load. You start with stresses you can manage and gradually take on bigger challenges. If you jump into something too difficult, too fast, you'll get overwhelmed and potentially traumatized instead of strengthened. But if you never increase the difficulty, you'll never grow stronger. Recovery is just as important as exposure. After you expose yourself to controlled stress, you need time to recover and integrate the experience. Reflect on what you learned. Celebrate the fact that you handled something difficult. Let your nervous system return to baseline before taking on the next challenge. If you're constantly stressing yourself without recovery, you'll burn out instead of getting stronger. Track your progress. Notice how situations that used to stress you out no longer affect you the same way. Pay attention to how your stress tolerance has improved over time. Recognize that you can now handle things that would have overwhelmed you in the past. This awareness builds confidence and motivates you to keep pushing your limits. You start to trust your ability to handle whatever comes your way. The goal of stress exposure training isn't to become someone who feels no stress. The goal is to become someone who can function well under stress. Someone who can think clearly when pressure is high. Someone who can perform well when stakes are elevated. Someone who gets stronger from challenges instead of weaker. That kind of resilience isn't built in comfort. It's built through gradually exposing yourself to the very thing you want to master. Chapter 7. Make decisions faster when pressure is highest. When pressure is high, most people slow down their decision-making when they should be speeding it up. They overthink. They second-guess themselves. They wait for more information. They look for guarantees that don't exist. But in high-pressure situations, slow decisions are often bad decisions. The longer you wait, the fewer options you have. The more you hesitate, the more stress builds. The more stress builds, the cloudier your thinking becomes. It's a cycle that leads to paralysis. Fast decision-making under pressure isn't about being reckless. It's about being decisive with the information you have. It's about understanding that waiting for perfect information is usually impossible and always expensive. It's about making good decisions quickly rather than perfect decisions slowly. Perfect decisions don't exist, but good decisions made quickly are almost always better than perfect decisions made too late. Most people are afraid to make fast decisions because they're afraid of making the wrong choice. But in high-pressure situations, not making a decision is also a decision. It's a decision to let circumstances control your outcome instead of taking control yourself. It's a decision to react instead of respond. It's a decision to be passive instead of active. The fear of making the wrong choice often leads to making no choice, which is usually the worst choice of all. Train yourself to make decisions with incomplete information. In most situations, you'll never have all the facts. You'll never have perfect clarity. You'll never have guarantees about outcomes. But you can't let that stop you from deciding. Learn to work with probabilities instead of certainties. Make the best decision you can with the information you have, then commit to that decision fully. You can always adjust later if new information emerges. Set decision deadlines for yourself. When facing a choice, decide how much time you'll spend considering options. Then stick to that deadline. This prevents endless deliberation that usually makes decisions harder, not easier. Most decisions don't improve significantly with more thinking time once you've considered the main factors. Additional thinking time often just creates more doubt and anxiety without adding real value. Use frameworks to speed up decision-making. When pressure is high, having a structured approach prevents your mind from spinning in circles. Ask yourself 3 questions. What are my options? What are the likely outcomes of each option? Which option best aligns with my values and goals? This simple framework can cut through complexity and emotional noise to get to the core of most decisions. Practice the 10-10-10 rule. How will I feel about this decision in 10 minutes? How about in 10 months? How about in 10 years? This perspective helps you separate immediate emotions from long-term consequences. Often what feels stressful in the moment won't matter at all in the bigger picture. But sometimes what seems like a small decision now will have major impacts later. This rule helps you allocate your decision-making energy appropriately. Distinguish between reversible and irreversible decisions. Some decisions can be easily changed later if they don't work out. These decisions should be made quickly because the cost of being wrong is low. Other decisions are much harder to reverse, like career changes, marriage, major investments. These deserve more consideration. But even irreversible decisions shouldn't take forever. Set an appropriate timeline based on the stakes and stick to it. Trust your intuition more than you think you should. Your subconscious mind processes information faster than your conscious mind. It picks up on patterns and connections that your rational mind might miss. When you've been in similar situations before, your intuition is often right. Don't ignore gut feelings just because you can't rationally explain them. But also don't rely on intuition alone. Use it as one data point among many. Limit your options to prevent decision paralysis. When facing too many choices, people often make no choice at all. If you're considering multiple options, narrow them down to the top 2 or 3. More options don't always lead to better decisions. They often lead to more stress and delay. Having fewer options makes comparison easier and decision-making faster. Make decisions based on your values, not your fears. When pressure is high, fear often drives decision-making. People choose options that feel safe rather than options that align with their goals. But decisions made from fear rarely lead to the outcomes you actually want. Ground your decisions in what you value most, what you want to create, where you want to go. Let your values be your guide. When pressure makes everything else unclear, accept that some decisions will be wrong, and that's okay. No one makes perfect decisions all the time. The goal isn't to never make mistakes. The goal is to make decisions quickly enough that you have time to correct mistakes when they happen. Fast decisions with course corrections are almost always better than slow decisions that come too late to matter. Build confidence in your decision-making by tracking your results. Keep a record of important decisions you make and how they turn out. You'll probably discover that your decisions are better than you think they are. Most people focus on their few bad decisions and forget about their many good ones. Seeing evidence of your decision-making ability builds confidence that helps you decide faster in future pressure situations. The ability to make good decisions quickly under pressure is one of the most valuable skills you can develop. It separates leaders from followers. It separates those who control their circumstances from those who are controlled by their circumstances. It separates those who thrive under pressure from those who crumble under pressure. Practice making faster decisions in low-stakes situations so you can make good decisions quickly when the stakes are high. Chapter 8. Create systems that work when you can't think clearly. When stress is high, your thinking gets compromised. That's just biology. Stress narrows your focus, impairs your memory, and reduces your ability to see the big picture. Your brain shifts into survival mode, which is great for immediate physical threats, but terrible for complex decision-making. That's why you can't rely on thinking your way through high-stress situations. You need systems that work even when your thinking doesn't. Systems are predetermined responses to predictable situations. They're scripts you follow when your brain doesn't want to cooperate. They're guardrails that keep you on track when stress tries to derail you. They're backup plans that activate automatically when your primary plans fall apart. Good systems don't require clear thinking to work. They work despite unclear thinking. They work because unclear thinking. Start with your most common stress triggers and create specific protocols for handling them. If deadlines stress you out, create a deadline management system that breaks big projects into small daily tasks. If difficult conversations stress you out, create a conversation framework that guides you through tough discussions. If financial pressure stresses you out, create a financial protocol that tells you exactly what to do when money gets tight. Systems remove the need to figure things out in the moment when figuring things out is hardest. Checklists are one of the most powerful stress management tools you can create. When your mind is overwhelmed, a good checklist keeps you moving forward systematically. Pilots use checklists because even highly trained professionals make mistakes when they're under pressure. Surgeons use checklists because the stakes are too high to rely on memory alone. You should use checklists for any high-stress situation you face regularly. Create communication protocols for when you're overwhelmed. Decide in advance how you'll communicate with your team, your family, your boss when stress is high. What information do they need? How often will you update them? What requests should they hold off on? Having clear communication protocols prevents stress from spreading to other people and prevents other people's stress from making your situation worse. Build margin into all your systems. Assume things will take longer than expected. Assume problems will arise. Assume you'll need more resources than you think. Systems without margin break down as soon as anything goes wrong. But systems with built-in buffer can handle unexpected complications without falling apart. Margin is what makes systems resilient under pressure. Automate whatever you can so decisions don't pile up when you're stressed. Set up automatic bill payments so financial stress doesn't get worse because you forgot to pay something. Create email templates for common responses, so you don't have to craft perfect messages when your mind is scattered. Batch similar tasks together, so you're not constantly switching between different types of thinking. The fewer decisions you have to make when stressed, the better your remaining decisions will be. Have backup plans for your backup plans. Every system should have at least 2 ways to accomplish the same goal. If your primary approach fails, you immediately switch to your secondary approach without having to create a new plan under pressure. If your main income source gets threatened, what's your backup plan? If your primary way of managing workload breaks down, what's your alternative? Redundancy in systems prevents single points of failure. Create physical reminders that work when your memory doesn't. When stress is high, you forget things, important things. Write down your key priorities, where you'll see them multiple times per day. Post your emergency protocols somewhere visible. Keep important phone numbers written down, not just stored in your phone. Physical reminders work when digital reminders fail and when memory fails. Design your environment to support good decisions when your willpower is low. When you're stressed, you default to whatever is easiest. If healthy food is easier to access than junk food, you'll eat healthier when stressed. If your workspace is organized, you'll work more efficiently when overwhelmed. If distractions are removed from your environment, you'll focus better when your mind wants to wander. Your environment should push you toward good choices automatically. Test your systems before you need them. Run through your protocols when you're calm to make sure they actually work. Identify gaps or problems when you have the mental capacity to fix them. Practice using your systems so they become automatic. Systems that look good on paper, but haven't been tested in reality, often fall apart when pressure hits. Testing reveals flaws and builds confidence. Keep your systems simple enough to use when you're not at your best. Complex systems require clear thinking to execute properly. But when stress is high, clear thinking is exactly what you don't have. Your systems should be simple enough that you can follow them even when you're tired, overwhelmed, or emotional. If a system requires peak mental performance to work, it's not a good system for high-stress situations. Document your systems so you don't have to remember them. Write down your protocols. Create step-by-step guides. Record video explanations for complex processes. When stress is high, your memory isn't reliable. But documented systems work even when your memory doesn't. Plus, documented systems can be shared with others who might need to help you when you're overwhelmed. Update your systems based on what you learn from using them. No system is perfect from the start. Every time you use a system under pressure, you learn something about how to improve it. Maybe a step needs to be added. Maybe something needs to be simplified. Maybe the order needs to change. Continuously improving your systems makes them more effective over time. The goal isn't to create systems for every possible situation. The goal is to create systems for the situations you face most often, and the situations where the stakes are highest. Good systems turn chaos into order. They turn panic into process. They turn overwhelming situations into manageable steps. When you can't think clearly, good systems think for you. Chapter 9. Use pressure to elevate your performance. Most people see pressure as something that hurts their performance. They think they perform worse when stakes are high, when people are watching, when deadlines are tight. But that's only true if you don't know how to use pressure correctly. Pressure doesn't have to hurt your performance. When you understand how to work with pressure instead of against it, pressure can actually make you perform better than you ever thought possible. Pressure creates focus. When stakes are low, it's easy to get distracted. Your mind wanders. You procrastinate. You don't give your full attention to what you're doing. But when pressure is high, distractions fade away. Your mind locks onto what matters. You stop thinking about irrelevant things and focus completely on the task at hand. This intense focus can lead to breakthrough performance if you channel it correctly. Pressure releases energy. Your stress response floods your system with hormones that increase your energy, sharpen your alertness, and prepare your body for peak performance. This is the same physiological response that allows people to lift cars off trapped victims or run faster than they've ever run before. The energy is there. The question is whether you'll use it to fuel performance or waste it on anxiety. The key to using pressure for performance is preparation. When you're well prepared, pressure feels like fuel. When you're unprepared, pressure feels like weight. If you've done the work in advance, if you've practiced the skills, if you've built the foundation, then pressure just amplifies what you've already built. But if you haven't prepared, pressure exposes every gap in your readiness. Embrace the physical sensations of pressure instead of fighting them. Your heart racing isn't a sign that something's wrong. It's a sign that your body is preparing for peak performance. Your breathing quickening isn't anxiety. It's your body getting more oxygen to your brain and muscles. Your heightened alertness isn't nervousness. It's your mind getting ready to focus intensely. When you reinterpret these sensations as preparation for performance instead of signs of danger, they help you instead of hurting you. Set higher standards when pressure is high, not lower. Most people lower their expectations when stakes are elevated. They tell themselves they just need to get through it. They aim for good enough instead of excellence. But pressure situations are often the most important situations. They're the ones that matter most. That's exactly when you should raise your standards, not lower them. Use the pressure as motivation to perform at your absolute best. Pressure reveals capabilities you didn't know you had. In comfortable situations, you never have to reach deep. You never have to find out what you're truly capable of. But pressure forces you to dig deeper, to try harder, to find resources you didn't know existed. Some of your best work will come from your highest pressure situations. Some of your greatest achievements will happen when the stakes were highest. Use visualization to prepare for pressure situations. Mental rehearsal helps you perform better when the real pressure hits. Visualize yourself performing well under pressure. See yourself staying calm when stakes are high. Imagine yourself thriving when others are struggling. This mental practice builds confidence and creates familiarity with pressure situations before you're actually in them. Develop pre-performance routines that help you channel pressure into focus. Athletes have warm-up routines that prepare them for competition. Musicians have practice routines before performances. Surgeons have preparation protocols before operations. Create your own routines for high-pressure situations. These routines help you transition from normal energy to peak performance energy. Practice performing under artificial pressure. Create high-stakes practice situations where you can learn to use pressure without real consequences. Time yourself completing tasks. Practice in front of other people. Compete against others. Create artificial deadlines. The more you practice performing under pressure, the more comfortable you become with channeling that pressure into better performance. Focus on process instead of outcome when pressure is high. When you focus on results while under pressure, you create additional stress that hurts performance. But when you focus on doing the right things in the right order, you channel pressure into execution. Trust that good process leads to good outcomes, especially under pressure. Your job isn't to control results. Your job is to execute at the highest level you're capable of. Use pressure situations as opportunities to build confidence. Every time you perform well under pressure, you prove to yourself that you can handle high-stakes situations. This builds a track record of success that makes future pressure situations feel less threatening. You start to see pressure as an opportunity to showcase your abilities rather than a threat to your success. Remember that pressure is often a sign that something important is happening. If there's no pressure, it probably means the situation doesn't matter much. But if pressure is high, it usually means you're working on something significant. You're in a position where your performance matters. You have an opportunity to make a real impact. That's not something to fear. That's something to embrace. The biggest difference between those who crumble under pressure and those who thrive under pressure isn't talent or luck. It's mindset. Those who thrive have learned to see pressure as an ally instead of an enemy. They've learned to use the energy that pressure creates instead of being overwhelmed by it. They've learned that their best performances often come when the stakes are highest. You can learn these same skills. You can turn pressure into your competitive advantage. Chapter 10. Become the eye of the storm others turn to. When chaos erupts around you, you have a choice. You can add to the chaos, or you can become the calm center that others gravitate toward. You can let stress spread through you, or you can stop stress from spreading through you. The people who never break under stress don't just survive difficult situations. They become the stabilizing force that helps everyone else survive too. They become the eye of the storm. Being the eye of the storm isn't about being emotionless or disconnected. It's about being grounded when everyone else is spinning. It's about thinking clearly when everyone else is panicking. It's about staying focused on solutions when everyone else is focused on problems. It's about bringing calm energy to situations that desperately need calm energy. This isn't just about your own stress management. This is about becoming someone others can rely on when everything feels like it's falling apart. Calm is contagious, but so is panic. When you walk into a stressful situation with panicked energy, you make everyone more stressed. When you walk into the same situation with calm energy, you help everyone think more clearly. Your energy affects the energy of everyone around you. If you want to help others handle stress better, you have to handle your own stress first. You can't give what you don't have. People look for leaders when stress is high. They look for someone who seems to know what to do. Someone who isn't falling apart. Someone who can provide direction when everything feels uncertain. This is your opportunity to step up. Not because you have all the answers, but because you can stay calm enough to help find answers. Leadership under pressure isn't about being perfect. It's about being stable when stability is needed most. Start by controlling your physical presence. When stress is high, your body language sends signals to everyone around you. If you're tense, fidgeting, or moving erratically, you communicate anxiety to others. But if you're relaxed, still, and moving with purpose, you communicate calm. People read your body language before they hear your words. Make sure your presence communicates the energy you want to create in the room. Speak slower when everyone else is speaking faster. When stress is high, people tend to talk quickly, interrupt each other, and rush through conversations. But if you deliberately slow down your speech, you force others to slow down too. You set a different pace for the interaction. Slow speech communicates thoughtfulness and control. It signals that you're not panicked, which helps others feel less panicked too. Ask clarifying questions when everyone else is making assumptions. Stress makes people jump to conclusions. They assume the worst. They react to incomplete information. They catastrophize situations before understanding what's actually happening. But if you take the time to ask good questions, you help everyone get clarity about what's real and what's speculation. Questions slow down the rush to judgment and create space for better thinking. Focus conversations on what can be controlled when everyone else is focused on what can't be controlled. Stress makes people fixate on worst-case scenarios and factors outside their influence. But you can redirect attention to actionable steps. What can we do right now? What resources do we have? What's our next step? This kind of thinking moves groups from panic to problem-solving. Stay solution-oriented when everyone else is problem-oriented. In stressful situations, it's easy to get stuck analyzing what went wrong, who's to blame, or how bad things might get. But dwelling on problems doesn't solve problems. Keep bringing the conversation back to solutions. What are our options? What would work best? How do we move forward? Solution-focused thinking creates momentum and hope. Listen more than you speak when emotions are high. When people are stressed, they often need to be heard more than they need to be advised. Sometimes the most helpful thing you can do is create space for others to express their concerns without trying to fix everything immediately. Active listening helps people feel understood, which often reduces their stress level and helps them think more clearly. Make decisions when others can't decide. Stress often creates decision paralysis. People get overwhelmed by options or afraid of making the wrong choice. If you can stay clear-headed enough to make reasonable decisions, you help the group move forward. You don't have to make perfect decisions. You just have to make good enough decisions quickly enough to maintain momentum. Communicate what you know and what you don't know. In stressful situations, people often want more information than anyone actually has. Instead of pretending to know things you don't know, be clear about what information is solid and what's still uncertain. This honesty builds trust and helps others calibrate their responses appropriately. Take care of immediate needs first. When stress is high, people sometimes ignore basic needs like food, water, rest, or breaks. But these needs affect everyone's ability to think clearly and handle pressure. Making sure everyone's basic needs are met isn't just being considerate. It's helping the group maintain the physical and mental resources needed to handle the situation effectively. Follow up after the crisis passes. Being the eye of the storm isn't just about performing during the crisis. It's also about helping process what happened afterward. Check in with people who were affected. Acknowledge the difficulty of what everyone went through. Capture lessons learned. Help the group build resilience for future challenges. The way you handle the aftermath affects how people remember the experience and how prepared they'll be for next time. Remember that being the eye of the storm is a choice you make in each moment. You don't have to be perfect at it. You don't have to be the strongest or smartest person in the room. You just have to be the person who chooses calm over chaos, solutions over problems, action over paralysis. That choice, made consistently when pressure is high, makes you someone others can count on when counting on someone matters most. Chapter 11. Recover faster after high-stress periods. Most people think handling stress is just about surviving the stressful period itself. But that's only half the battle. The other half is recovering properly afterward. How you recover from stress determines whether you get stronger or weaker from the experience. It determines whether you build resilience or burn out. It determines whether you're ready for the next challenge or still depleted from the last one. Recovery isn't optional. It's essential. And most people do it wrong. Poor recovery after stress keeps you in a weakened state. You never fully return to baseline. You never restore your resources. You never process what happened. So, when the next stressful situation hits, you're starting from a depleted position instead of a strong one. This is how people get overwhelmed by challenges they should be able to handle. This is how stress accumulates until it becomes unbearable. This is how strong people slowly become weak people. Good recovery does the opposite. It not only restores you to your previous level, it actually makes you stronger than you were before. This is called post-traumatic growth. The stress doesn't just damage you, it builds you. But this only happens if you recover correctly. If you give your mind and body what they need to not just heal but improve. If you process the experience in a way that builds wisdom instead of just relieving pain. The first phase of recovery is immediate decompression. Right after a high-stress period, your nervous system is still activated. Your stress hormones are still elevated. Your mind is still racing. You need to consciously shift from high-alert mode to recovery mode. This doesn't happen automatically. You have to deliberately signal to your body that the threat is over and it's safe to begin restoration. Physical decompression starts with breathing. When stress is high, your breathing becomes shallow and rapid. Even after the stressor is gone, your breathing often stays restricted. You have to consciously return to deep, slow breathing. This activates your parasympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for rest and recovery. Spend at least 10 minutes focusing on nothing but slow, deep breaths. This is the fastest way to begin shifting from stress mode to recovery mode. Movement helps process stress hormones out of your system. During high stress, your body produces cortisol and adrenaline to fuel emergency action. But if that energy isn't used physically, those hormones stay in your system and keep you activated longer than necessary. Light exercise like walking, gentle stretching, or easy swimming helps metabolize stress hormones and signals to your body that the emergency is over. Sleep becomes absolutely critical during recovery periods. This isn't the time to push through on less sleep. This isn't the time to catch up on work by staying up late. Your brain needs sleep to process the stress experience, consolidate what you learned, and restore neurotransmitter balance. Sleep is when your body repairs stress damage and builds resilience for future challenges. Prioritize sleep during recovery like your future stress tolerance depends on it, because it does. Nutrition during recovery should focus on restoration, not convenience. Stress depletes vitamins, minerals, and other nutrients that your body needs to function optimally. Junk food might provide temporary comfort, but it doesn't provide the raw materials your body needs to recover. Focus on nutrient-dense whole foods. Increase your intake of vitamin C and B complex, magnesium, and omega-3 fatty acids. These nutrients support stress recovery and help rebuild your stress resistance. Hydration is often overlooked during recovery, but it's crucial. Stress increases your body's need for water. Dehydration makes recovery slower and less complete. It affects your energy levels, cognitive function, and mood. Make sure you're drinking more water than usual during recovery periods. Add electrolytes if the stress period involved heavy sweating or if you feel particularly drained. Mental decompression is just as important as physical decompression. Your mind needs time to process what happened during the stressful period. If you immediately jump back into normal activities without processing the experience, you miss the opportunity to learn and grow from it. You also risk carrying unresolved stress into your next challenges. Set aside time for reflection, journaling, or talking with someone you trust about what you experienced. Avoid making major decisions during the initial recovery period. Your judgment is often impaired immediately after high stress. You might be more pessimistic than usual, more risk-averse, or more likely to make emotion-based choices. Give yourself at least a few days of recovery before making important decisions. Your perspective will be clearer once your stress response has fully deactivated. Gradually return to normal intensity rather than jumping back to full speed. Many people make the mistake of immediately returning to their regular pace after a stressful period. But your system needs time to readjust. Start with easier tasks and lower intensity activities. Gradually increase the demands on yourself as you feel your energy and resilience returning. This prevents secondary stress from overwhelming your recovery process. Social recovery is important too. High stress often requires you to isolate or focus intensely on the challenge at hand. During recovery, reconnect with people who support and energize you. Spend time with friends who make you laugh. Have conversations that aren't about the stressful situation you just went through. Social connection helps restore your emotional balance and reminds you that life exists beyond the crisis you just managed. Practice gratitude for your stress resilience. Take time to acknowledge that you handled a difficult situation. Recognize the strength you showed. Appreciate the skills you used. This isn't about being arrogant. It's about building confidence in your ability to handle future challenges. Every time you successfully navigate stress, you're proving to yourself that you're capable of more than you might have thought. Extract lessons from the experience while it's still fresh. What worked well? What would you do differently next time? What resources proved most valuable? What warning signs did you notice? What surprised you about your own response? Capturing these insights while they're still clear helps you handle similar situations better in the future. It turns stress into education. Set boundaries during recovery. Well-meaning people might want to immediately pile on new responsibilities or opportunities while you're coming down from a high-stress period. But recovery requires saying no to additional demands until you're genuinely restored. Protecting your recovery time isn't selfish. It's strategic. It ensures you'll be stronger for whatever comes next. Monitor your recovery progress rather than assuming you're fine. Pay attention to your energy levels, sleep quality, mood, and stress tolerance. Notice whether you're genuinely returning to baseline or just pretending to be recovered. If recovery is taking longer than expected, extend the recovery period rather than pushing through. Incomplete recovery sets you up for problems with the next stressful situation. Create recovery rituals that help you transition back to normal life. These might include activities that bring you joy, practices that help you feel grounded, or routines that restore your sense of normal rhythm. Having specific recovery rituals makes the transition more intentional and complete. It signals to your mind and body that the stress period is truly over and normal life is resuming. The goal of recovery isn't just to feel normal again. The goal is to feel stronger than you were before the stress hit, to have more confidence in your abilities, to have better strategies for handling pressure, to have deeper resources to draw from, to be more resilient, more capable, more unbreakable. That kind of recovery doesn't happen by accident. It happens by being as intentional about recovery as you are about performance. Chapter 12. Build long-term stress immunity through consistent practice. Stress immunity isn't built in moments of crisis. It's built through consistent daily practices that strengthen your resistance over time. Just like physical immunity protects you from diseases you haven't encountered yet, stress immunity protects you from pressures you can't predict. But this immunity doesn't develop automatically. It requires deliberate, ongoing effort to build and maintain. Most people only think about stress management when they're already overwhelmed. By then, it's too late to build immunity. You build immunity during the calm periods, so you're protected during the storms. Think of stress immunity like physical fitness. You don't get fit by working out once when you need to move something heavy. You get fit by training consistently over time, so your body is ready for whatever physical demands arise. Stress immunity works the same way. You build it through daily practices that strengthen your mental and emotional resilience. You develop it through small, consistent actions that may seem insignificant individually, but create powerful protection when combined over time. Daily meditation is one of the most effective ways to build stress immunity. Even 10 minutes of daily meditation measurably changes your brain's response to stress. It increases gray matter in areas associated with emotional regulation. It reduces activity in the amygdala, which is responsible for fear responses. It strengthens the prefrontal cortex, which handles executive functions like decision-making and impulse control. These changes don't happen overnight, but they're dramatic when sustained over months and years. But meditation doesn't have to be sitting cross-legged chanting. It can be any practice that trains your attention and builds your ability to observe your thoughts without being controlled by them. Walking meditation, breathing exercises, progressive muscle relaxation, mindful eating. The specific technique matters less than the consistency. The goal is training your mind to stay present and calm, regardless of external circumstances. Physical exercise builds stress immunity at the cellular level. Regular exercise literally changes how your body responds to stress hormones. It makes you more sensitive to the beneficial effects of moderate stress, while making you more resistant to the harmful effects of chronic stress. It improves your body's ability to return to baseline after stress. It increases production of neurotransmitters that promote calm and well-being. Exercise is like a vaccine against stress weakness. The type of exercise matters for stress immunity. Cardiovascular exercise builds your body's ability to handle physiological stress. Strength training builds confidence and physical resilience. Yoga combines physical and mental training. High-intensity interval training teaches your body to recover quickly from stress. The best program includes multiple types of exercise, but consistency is more important than variety. Better to do moderate exercise every day than intense exercise occasionally. Sleep consistency is crucial for long-term stress immunity. Going to bed and waking up at the same time every day regulates your circadian rhythm, which affects everything from hormone production to immune function. Poor sleep makes you more reactive to stress and less able to recover from it. Good sleep makes you more resilient and better able to handle whatever the day brings. Sleep isn't just rest. It's actively building your capacity to handle pressure. Nutritional consistency matters too. What you eat regularly affects your baseline stress resistance. Processed foods and sugar create internal stress that makes external stress feel worse. Whole foods and stable blood sugar create internal stability that makes you more resilient to external pressures. You don't have to eat perfectly, but your default eating pattern should support stress resistance, not undermine it. Cognitive practices build mental stress immunity. Regularly challenging negative thought patterns makes you less susceptible to stress-induced thinking errors. Practicing gratitude builds resilience against pessimistic thinking during difficult times. Studying philosophy or reading about people who overcame adversity builds perspective that helps you put your own stresses in context. Mental training is just as important as physical training for stress immunity. Social connections are a major factor in stress immunity. People with strong social support systems handle stress better and recover faster. But these relationships need to be cultivated before you need them. You can't wait until you're in crisis to build a support network. Invest in relationships during good times so they're available during hard times. Be the kind of friend to others that you'd want them to be to you during stress. Regular exposure to manageable stress builds immunity to overwhelming stress. This is hormesis, the principle that small doses of stress make you more resistant to larger doses. Cold showers, challenging workouts, public speaking, difficult conversations, new experiences, learning hard skills. These controlled stresses train your system to handle uncontrolled stresses. They build confidence that you can handle discomfort without breaking. Spiritual or philosophical practices build meaning-based stress immunity. When you have a clear sense of purpose and meaning, stress feels different. It's still challenging, but it doesn't feel pointless. It doesn't feel overwhelming because it's connected to something larger than immediate comfort. Whether through religion, philosophy, or personal mission, having something you care about more than your own comfort builds remarkable stress resistance. Environmental design supports stress immunity. Your daily environment either builds stress resistance or undermines it. Cluttered, chaotic spaces create low-level stress that depletes your reserves. Clean, organized spaces support mental clarity and emotional calm. Natural light and plants reduce stress hormones. Noise pollution increases stress sensitivity. Design your environment to support the person you want to become under pressure. Regular learning builds cognitive stress immunity. When you're regularly challenging your brain with new information and skills, you stay mentally flexible. This flexibility helps you adapt to unexpected stresses. It helps you see solutions that might not be obvious. It prevents you from getting stuck in rigid thinking patterns when pressure rises. Learning isn't just for career advancement. It's for stress, resilience. Creating and maintaining routines builds predictability that buffers against stress. When parts of your life are stable and automatic, you have more mental energy available for handling unexpected challenges. Morning routines, evening routines, weekly routines, monthly routines. These create structure that supports you when other areas of life become unpredictable. Regular reflection and planning build proactive stress immunity. Weekly or monthly reviews help you identify stress patterns before they become overwhelming. They help you spot early warning signs. They help you adjust your strategies based on what's working and what isn't. They help you stay ahead of stress instead of always reacting to it after it builds up. Financial practices build economic stress immunity. Regular saving creates a buffer against financial emergencies. Living below your means reduces money-related stress. Having multiple income streams reduces economic vulnerability. Financial stress is one of the most common sources of overwhelming pressure. And it's also one of the most preventable through consistent practice. The key to building stress immunity is treating it like any other fitness goal. You start where you are, not where you think you should be. You build gradually rather than trying to do everything at once. You stay consistent even when progress feels slow. You adjust your approach based on what works for your life and personality. You view it as a long-term investment in your future self rather than a quick fix for current problems. Stress immunity isn't about becoming someone who never feels stress. It's about becoming someone who can feel stress without being controlled by it. Someone who can think clearly under pressure. Someone who can act effectively when stakes are high. Someone who can recover quickly after difficult periods. Someone who gets stronger from challenges instead of weaker. That kind of resilience isn't built overnight, but it can be built by anyone willing to do the consistent work. Chapter 13. Teach others to handle pressure without breaking. Teaching others to handle pressure isn't just about helping them. It's about strengthening your own stress mastery. When you can help someone else stay calm under pressure, it proves you've truly internalized these skills yourself. When you can guide others through stressful situations, you develop deeper confidence in your own abilities. When you can be a source of strength for others, you become more unbreakable yourself. Teaching stress resilience is both a service to others and a way to deepen your own mastery. But teaching stress management isn't about giving advice when people are already overwhelmed. By then, they're not in a state to learn effectively. People learn stress skills best when they're calm, not when they're panicking. Your job as a teacher is to plant seeds during peaceful times that will grow into strength during turbulent times. You teach through example, through conversations, and through creating environments where others can build their own resilience. Start by modeling the behavior you want to teach. People learn more from what they observe than from what they're told. When you stay calm in stressful situations, others notice. When you make clear decisions under pressure, others see it's possible. When you recover well after difficult periods, others learn that resilience is real. Your example gives others permission to believe they can handle pressure too. You teach best by being the kind of person others want to become. Create psychological safety for others to practice stress skills. People need to feel safe to make mistakes while they're learning. If someone is afraid they'll be judged for not handling pressure perfectly, they'll avoid challenging situations altogether. But if they know you'll support them regardless of how they perform, they'll be willing to stretch themselves. Psychological safety is the foundation that allows people to develop real stress tolerance instead of just stress avoidance. Teach the fundamentals when people are calm. Basic breathing techniques, simple mindfulness practices, the importance of sleep and exercise, how to recognize early stress signals. These basics seem obvious, but most people have never learned them systematically. During calm moments, help people build these fundamental skills so they're available when pressure rises. Foundation skills need to be practiced before they're needed. Help others identify their personal stress patterns. Everyone responds to stress differently. Some people get angry, some get withdrawn, some get scattered, some get paralyzed. Help people recognize their own patterns so they can intervene early. When someone understands their unique stress response, they can prepare for it. They can develop personalized strategies that work with their nature instead of against it. Teach decision-making frameworks rather than specific decisions. You can't make decisions for others, but you can teach them how to make better decisions themselves. Teach them to pause before reacting. Teach them to distinguish between what they can and can't control. Teach them to consider long-term consequences, not just immediate relief. These frameworks help people navigate any stressful situation, not just the current one. Practice stress scenarios together in low-stakes situations. Role-play difficult conversations. Simulate pressure situations. Create artificial deadlines. Practice problem-solving under time constraints. This allows people to experience stress in a controlled environment where they can experiment with different responses. It builds familiarity with pressure so it feels less threatening when it occurs naturally. Teach the importance of preparation, not just reaction. Most people only think about stress management when they're already stressed. But the real work happens during preparation. Help others understand that stress resilience is built through daily habits, not crisis responses. Teach them to prepare their minds and bodies for pressure before pressure arrives. Prevention is always more effective than treatment. Help others reframe their relationship with stress. Many people see stress as purely negative, something to be avoided at all costs. But this mindset makes them more vulnerable when stress is unavoidable. Teach them to see stress as information, as energy, as an opportunity to grow stronger. Help them understand that some stress is beneficial and that avoiding all stress actually makes them weaker, not stronger. Teach people to recognize the difference between acute stress and chronic stress. Acute stress can be beneficial and energizing. It's the stress of a challenging workout or an important presentation. Chronic stress is harmful and depleting. It's the stress of ongoing relationship problems or financial insecurity. Help people understand this distinction so they can embrace beneficial stress while addressing harmful stress. Create accountability systems that support stress resilience. Help people track their stress management practices. Check in regularly about how they're handling pressure. Celebrate improvements in stress tolerance. Provide gentle correction when they fall back into old patterns. Accountability helps people stay consistent with practices that build resilience over time. Teach recovery skills alongside stress management skills. Many people push through stress without ever properly recovering. This leads to accumulating stress that eventually becomes overwhelming. Teach people how to decompress after pressure periods, how to process difficult experiences. how to restore their energy and resilience. Recovery skills are just as important as performance skills. Help others build their stress support network. No one should face major stress alone. Help people identify who they can turn to for different types of support. Who can they talk to when they need to process emotions? Who can help with practical problems? Who can provide perspective when they're too close to a situation? A strong support network is a crucial part of stress resilience. Teach people to trust their own stress resilience. Many people underestimate their ability to handle pressure. They focus on times they struggled and forget times they succeeded. Help people recognize their own strength. Remind them of pressures they've already survived. Point out growth they might not have noticed. Confidence in their own resilience helps people approach challenges with strength instead of fear. Avoid rescuing people from manageable stress. It's tempting to jump in and solve problems for others, especially people you care about. But constantly rescuing people from stress prevents them from building their own resilience. Sometimes the most helpful thing you can do is provide support while allowing someone to work through their own challenges. This builds their confidence and capability for future situations. Know when to recommend professional help. Some stress situations require more support than you can provide. Trauma responses, severe anxiety, depression, and other mental health challenges often need professional intervention. Part of teaching stress resilience is recognizing when someone needs more help than peer support can provide. Knowing your limits as a teacher protects both you and the people you're trying to help. The ultimate goal of teaching stress resilience isn't to create people who depend on you for stress management. It's to create people who have internalized these skills so deeply that they can handle pressure independently. It's to develop people who can then teach others. This creates a ripple effect where stress resilience spreads through families, teams, and communities. Everyone benefits when more people know how to handle pressure without breaking. Teaching others to handle stress also strengthens your own resilience by giving your stress skills meaning beyond your own benefit. When your stress management serves a larger purpose, when it helps you support others, it becomes more than just personal development. It becomes a way of contributing to a world where more people can thrive under pressure instead of just surviving it. Chapter 14. Turn stress into your competitive advantage. Most people see stress as something that holds them back. They think stress makes them perform worse, think less clearly, and achieve less than they would without pressure. But this is only true if you don't know how to use stress correctly. When you understand how to harness stress, it becomes one of your greatest competitive advantages. It becomes the thing that separates you from people who crumble under pressure. It becomes the secret weapon that allows you to thrive in situations where others just survive. Stress is distributed unevenly. Not everyone faces the same amount of pressure. Some people have demanding careers. Some have complex family situations. Some have financial challenges. Some have health issues. Some have multiple stresses at once. If you're facing significant stress, it means you're in situations that matter. It means you're taking on challenges that could lead to meaningful results. It means you're living at a level of intensity that develops strength most people never build. The people who achieve the most are usually the people who can handle the most pressure. High achievement requires handling uncertainty, criticism, failure, setbacks, and enormous responsibility. These are all stressful experiences. If you can't handle stress, you can't achieve at high levels. But if you can not only handle stress, but actually perform better under pressure, you have access to opportunities and achievements that stress-avoidant people will never reach. Stress creates focus that comfort cannot. When stakes are low, it's easy to be distracted. Your mind wanders. You procrastinate. You don't give your full attention to what you're doing. But when stress is high, when pressure is on, when things really matter, your mind naturally focuses. Distractions fade away. Irrelevant concerns disappear. You become laser-focused on what needs to be done. This intense focus can lead to breakthrough performance that wouldn't be possible without pressure. Stress reveals capabilities you didn't know you had. In comfortable situations, you never have to reach deep. You never discover what you're truly capable of. You operate well within your limits and never find out where those limits actually are. But stress forces you to go beyond what feels comfortable. It forces you to find resources you didn't know existed. It pushes you to perform at levels you never thought possible. Some of your greatest achievements will happen when you're under the most pressure. Stress accelerates learning and adaptation. When things are easy, there's no urgency to improve. You can afford to learn slowly and make mistakes without consequences. But when stress is high, you learn faster. You adapt quicker. You find solutions more rapidly. Pressure creates necessity, and necessity creates innovation. The skills you develop under stress often become some of your most valuable capabilities. Stress builds resilience that serves you everywhere. Every time you successfully navigate a stressful situation, you prove to yourself that you can handle difficulty. You build confidence in your ability to cope with challenges. You develop emotional toughness that serves you in every area of life. This resilience becomes a competitive advantage not just in specific situations, but in your overall approach to life. You become someone who moves toward challenges instead of away from them. Stress situations often have less competition. Most people avoid high-pressure environments. They choose the easier path, the safer option, the more comfortable alternative. This means there's often less competition in the most challenging situations. While everyone else is crowding into the comfortable spaces, you have opportunities with less competition because you're willing to handle the pressure that others avoid. Stress develops problem-solving skills under pressure. Anyone can solve problems when they have unlimited time and resources. But the ability to find solutions quickly under pressure is rare and valuable. Stress forces you to think creatively, prioritize effectively, and act decisively. These problem-solving skills under pressure become a massive competitive advantage in any field where quick thinking matters. Stress teaches you to perform when it counts. Practice is important, but game-time performance is what matters. Some people perform well in practice, but fall apart when stakes are high. Others actually perform better when pressure is on. If you can be someone who rises to the occasion, who performs best when it matters most, you have an enormous advantage over people who wilt under pressure. Stress situations often offer the biggest rewards. High stress usually corresponds with high stakes. The most stressful opportunities are often the ones with the biggest potential payoffs. If you can handle the pressure, you get access to rewards that people who avoid stress never see. The biggest promotions, the most profitable ventures, the most meaningful achievements often come with significant stress attached. Your willingness to handle that stress becomes your ticket to bigger rewards. Stress builds leadership capabilities. People look for leaders who can stay calm under pressure, make decisions when stakes are high, and guide others through difficult situations. If you can be that person, if you can be the one others turn to when stress is high, you naturally develop leadership influence. This leadership capability becomes valuable in every area of life, from career advancement to family dynamics to community involvement. Stress tolerance becomes more valuable as challenges increase. As the world becomes more complex and fast-paced, the ability to handle pressure becomes increasingly rare and valuable. While technology handles many routine tasks, the uniquely human ability to think clearly and act effectively under stress becomes more important, not less. Building exceptional stress tolerance is an investment in a capability that will only become more valuable over time. Stress experiences create compelling stories and credibility. People respect those who have been through difficult situations and emerged stronger. Your stress experiences, when handled well, become part of your personal story and professional credibility. They demonstrate your resilience and capability in ways that comfortable experiences never could. This credibility opens doors and creates trust that wouldn't exist otherwise. The key to turning stress into competitive advantage is changing your relationship with it. Instead of seeing stress as something that happens to you, see it as something you can use. Instead of viewing pressure as a threat, view it as an opportunity. Instead of trying to minimize stress, learn to optimize your performance under stress. This mindset shift alone gives you an advantage over people who are still fighting against stress instead of working with it. Develop systems and practices that help you perform better under pressure. Not just cope with pressure. Learn to use the energy that stress creates. Practice making better decisions when stakes are high. Train yourself to focus more intensely when pressure rises. Build habits that help you recover quickly from stressful periods so you can handle the next challenge at full strength. Document your stress successes to build confidence in your stress capability. Keep track of difficult situations you've handled well. Record lessons learned from high-pressure experiences. Notice patterns in how you perform under stress. This documentation serves as evidence that you can handle pressure, which builds confidence for future challenges. Seek out appropriate levels of stress instead of avoiding all stress. This doesn't mean creating unnecessary drama or taking reckless risks. It means choosing challenges that stretch you. It means taking on responsibilities that require you to grow. It means putting yourself in situations where you can develop and demonstrate your ability to perform under pressure. The goal isn't to live in constant stress. The goal is to become someone who can handle stress so well that it becomes an advantage instead of a disadvantage. Someone who can use pressure to focus better, perform better, and achieve more than would be possible without pressure. Someone who sees stress as fuel for excellence instead of an obstacle to success. When you reach that level, stress stops being something that limits you and starts being something that elevates you above. Everyone who hasn't learned to use pressure as a tool for peak performance. Chapter 15. Live unbreakable in an unpredictable world. The world is becoming more unpredictable, not less. Technology changes faster. Markets shift quicker. Careers evolve rapidly. Relationships are more complex. Global events affect local lives instantly. The old model of finding stability through external circumstances doesn't work anymore. You can't control what happens around you, but you can control who you become in response to what happens around you. You can become unbreakable. Living unbreakable doesn't mean nothing affects you. It means you don't break when life hits hard. It means you bend without snapping. It means you adapt without losing your core. It means you can handle whatever comes without losing yourself in the process. It means you become someone who thrives in uncertainty rather than just surviving it. It means you turn unpredictability into opportunity instead of letting it become overwhelming anxiety. Unbreakable people understand that change is the only constant. They don't waste energy trying to make the world more predictable. They don't base their peace on external stability. Instead, they build internal stability that can handle external chaos. They develop skills, mindsets, and capabilities that work regardless of circumstances. They become the steady point in their own spinning world. The foundation of living unbreakable is accepting that you can't control most of what happens to you, but you can control your response to everything that happens to you. This isn't a motivational slogan. This is a practical reality. External events will always be largely outside your influence. Weather happens, economies fluctuate, people make decisions that affect you. Technology disrupts industries. Pandemics occur. Wars start. These things are not under your control. Your response to these things is completely under your control. Unbreakable people develop anti-fragile capabilities. Anti-fragile means you don't just survive stress, you get stronger from it. You don't just recover from setbacks, you improve because of them. You don't just adapt to change, you use change to grow. This is different from resilience, which helps you bounce back. Anti-fragility helps you bounce forward to a better place than where you started. Building anti-fragility requires exposing yourself to controlled stress and challenges regularly. Small failures that teach you lessons. Uncomfortable situations that build confidence. Physical challenges that develop mental toughness. Social situations that stretch your communication skills. Financial investments that teach you about risk. Learning challenges that expand your capabilities. These controlled exposures build strength that serves you when uncontrolled challenges arise. Unbreakable people cultivate multiple sources of strength. They don't depend on just one thing for their stability. They don't put all their identity in their career. They don't base all their happiness on one relationship. They don't tie all their security to one income source. They diversify their sources of meaning, connection, and security, so that if one area struggles, others can provide support. This diversity creates resilience that single-source dependencies cannot. Mental flexibility is crucial for living unbreakable. Rigid thinking breaks under pressure. Inflexible beliefs shatter when reality doesn't match expectations. Fixed mindsets crumble when change is required. But flexible thinking bends without breaking. It adapts to new information. It finds creative solutions to unexpected problems. It sees opportunities where rigid thinking sees only threats. Mental flexibility is built through regularly challenging your assumptions and exposing yourself to different perspectives. Unbreakable people master the art of rapid adaptation. When circumstances change, they change with them quickly rather than fighting against the new reality. They don't waste time lamenting what used to be. or wishing things were different. They assess the new situation, identify what's possible now, and move forward with new strategies. This rapid adaptation prevents them from getting stuck in outdated approaches that no longer work. Physical health becomes even more important in an unpredictable world. When external circumstances are chaotic, your body becomes your most reliable source of stability. Physical fitness gives you energy to handle challenges. Good nutrition supports mental clarity under stress. Quality sleep helps you recover from difficult periods. Regular exercise builds both physical and mental resilience. Your body is the platform that everything else runs on. Keep it strong. Financial anti-fragility means building systems that benefit from volatility rather than being destroyed by it. This includes having emergency funds that provide stability during uncertainty, multiple income streams that reduce dependency on any single source, skills that remain valuable across different economic conditions, investments that can benefit from market volatility, living below your means to create flexibility. Financial anti-fragility isn't about having enough money to avoid all problems. It's about having enough flexibility to adapt to any financial situation. Emotional regulation becomes a survival skill in unpredictable times. When external circumstances are constantly changing, your emotional state can't depend on external stability. You need internal practices that help you maintain emotional balance regardless of what's happening around you. Meditation, journaling, therapy, spiritual practices, creative outlets, physical exercise. Whatever helps you process emotions and maintain perspective. Emotional regulation isn't about suppressing feelings. It's about experiencing emotions without being controlled by them. Unbreakable people build strong networks before they need them. Relationships are your insurance policy against unpredictability. When your industry changes, your network can help you find new opportunities. When you face personal challenges, your relationships provide support. When you need to learn new skills, your network connects you with teachers. But these relationships must be built and maintained during good times, not just activated during hard times. Continuous learning becomes essential for remaining unbreakable. In a rapidly changing world, your current skills and knowledge have an expiration date. What made you successful yesterday might not work tomorrow. Unbreakable people are always learning, always growing, always developing new capabilities. They stay relevant by staying curious. They maintain their value by constantly adding new value to themselves. Unbreakable people develop a growth mindset about challenges. Instead of seeing difficulties as evidence that something is wrong, they see difficulties as evidence that they're growing. Instead of viewing setbacks as failures, they view setbacks as feedback. Instead of seeing uncertainty as threatening, they see uncertainty as opportunity. This mindset shift changes your entire relationship with unpredictability. It transforms chaos from something that happens to you into something that strengthens you. Purpose becomes your anchor in an unpredictable world. When everything else is changing, having a clear sense of purpose provides direction and meaning. Purpose helps you make decisions when options are unclear. It gives you motivation when circumstances are difficult. It provides identity when external roles change. Purpose isn't just about career or big life goals. It's about understanding what matters to you and why, so you can navigate any circumstance with clarity. Unbreakable people practice radical acceptance of reality while maintaining agency over their response. Acceptance doesn't mean passivity. It means clearly seeing what is, rather than wasting energy on what should be or what used to be. From that clear perception of reality, you can make effective choices about how to respond. Fighting against reality depletes energy that could be used for adaptation and growth. The practice of living unbreakable is daily. It's built through small choices made consistently over time. Choosing growth over comfort. Choosing adaptation over resistance. Choosing response over reaction. Choosing learning over defending. Choosing connection over isolation. These daily choices compound into a life that can handle whatever unpredictability brings. Living unbreakable doesn't mean your life becomes easy. It means you become strong enough to handle a difficult life. It means you develop capabilities that work regardless of circumstances. It means you build internal resources that can't be taken away by external events. It means you become someone who doesn't just survive uncertainty, but uses uncertainty as fuel for becoming stronger, wiser, and more capable. The world will continue to be unpredictable. Technology will keep changing. Economies will keep shifting. Politics will keep evolving. Natural disasters will keep occurring. Personal challenges will keep arising. But if you've built yourself to be unbreakable, these changes become opportunities for growth rather than threats to your stability. You become someone who moves toward uncertainty rather than away from it. Because you know that uncertainty is where strength is built, where opportunities are found, and where the unbreakable separate themselves from those who still depend on external circumstances for their internal peace.